Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful. When the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. The 20th Friday. There's nothing interesting happening today. No, wait. We got let's go in here see. I'm not sure if we really have any significant news coming in today. Well, we've got Canadian retail sales and Fed's Kaplan speaking. So, nothing too interesting today. But yesterday was a banger, wasn't it? Holy crap. So, here's the thing. Yesterday, in the ES, pretty crazy buy. I guess they didn't completely retrace this saying the risk sentiment, especially in the overnight sessions, continues to be risk off. Okay, I will note also that there was pretty deep pullbacks up in here. So I think that what is going on is there's a bit of options still playing around. These guys got screwed, but there's probably still some gamma sitting at 4,400. So we may gravitate towards that level. But on the other side, and this is the one that I find weird, is that the treasuries didn't really move. Well, it looks like that the rates did come back a little bit towards the end of the session, but now they're coming back up. So even though the E-mini had like a really aggressive buying push, we didn't really see, I would have expected something more like, one of these days, given how aggressively they bought the S&P-500. So that gives me some concern for next week, but it's Friday, so for now, who knows what's going to happen. Oil still struggling overnight. I think really it's like this sentiment coming over from Asia, I think is a real problem for the global economy and is going to make quarters 3 and 4 even more rough than we thought, right? Gold and silver. Well, it looks like gold has fairly well recovered its price after that huge dump, but it's just kind of drifting sideways now. Silver just looks sad. Silver took the dump and then never recovered. Copper bouncing back from it. Man, the move yesterday morning was like, what? Crazy. Okay, and then we come over here to the currencies. We can see that the dollar continues to be strong. It hasn't moved that much, but it continues to be strong. So like here again, the sentiment is definitely risk off. Also the cryptocurrencies here. Why does the Ethereum adjust like that? Properties, automatic. That's so weird. Wonder why it's doing that. Well, anyways, Bitcoin did have a pretty okay day yesterday. 2,000. It continues to be in this range above 4,000. But, them having gotten above the 4,000, it was significant, right? So, I continue to see a situation where I question where it's going to come from. Oh, you know what I got to do over here, by the way, is on this data series, that Ethereum, we need to go back 180 days. So that'll help for starters. There we go. No. Why is it doing that? Why you do this? Okay. What the heck? You know what? That's effing weird. if I take off the cumulative delta on there, does that fix it? Does. Weird. Well, we'll fix that later. How are you guys doing? See there. Good morning. When are the robots? I haven't been turning them on actually this week. I should though. Huh? Well, I should change things, and I should start testing my other version of Jay. But he wasn't taking trades. That's no, my baby. That was the other one. That I have like these two robots. Freaky Friday. Yeah. Well, today might be difficult for us scalping because it's very clear that options activity has been far and away the dominant factor this week. I didn't really want to trade off of it. I really should have, but I think that I was just being way too cautious in that particular instance. I guess I'm just not as confident in trading what the options activity is doing, because even though I might have an inkling of what it's doing, I don't really have strong models or data sources giving me a really clear picture of what's going to happen, but now it's like that's kind of played itself out. I think that they're kind of going to get a little bit stuck. And so for today, I think it might be difficult for me to find a good trade in all of this. Oh man, what is the... Okay, let's reset all that. Anyways, but I think we got plenty of things to talk about. I know people are arguing with me about stuff on Reddit. What's this in platforms and brokers? How to make other platforms successful if using data if your Rhythmic has one math second count. Okay, so Rhythmic Trader Pro allows you to forward the data to as many apps as you want, and it's probably the best option if you want to run multiple apps using multiple apps at the same time. We got all sorts of stuff. We could talk about, but we gotta wait. We gotta wait for all the regulars to come in so we can argue about it. I mean, Uzi's probably here already, right? Oh, we don't have very many viewers yet, but I would just be preaching to the choir then at that point. Are they talking COVID masks? No, they're talking about vaccine mandates. I guess we could talk about this one, but hold on. Let me make sure got everything. So let's just kind of check around here a little bit. Nassim Nicholas Taleb, with most pundits, you get vastly more information from knowing their name than from reading their content. That may be true. Something that really bothers me in our society today, I feel like the internet has dumbed everything down. There was a time when I was a kid when they would talk about, certain kind of content sources were considered like highbrow. You needed to have a high reading level to be able to understand and read them. These professional newspapers and things like that. And then the internet came along, and it was like, to have success at anything, you had to dumb it down to the most base level so that the majority of people would read it. You know what I mean? And I think Taleb is right. And with a lot of the pundits on television, the issue is they might actually have good points, but a lot of the points that they make are things that if you read the original news and understood what you're reading, you would understand those positions and consequences on your own. And so they aren't actually adding anything. Oh, a big iceberg there at 13, by the way. I was watching YouTube talk about how the Afghans and the Taliban are not wearing masks. Well, I'm still would really like to see better data on the efficacy of masks in practice, you know? Whatever. It's not a huge deal, but I don't consider it a huge deal, but because it's such the big cultural issue, it really bothers me personally. I see this huge flashpoint, and there's not really the data to back it up. There are studies that show how people speak, at what grade level politicians write their speeches to a sixth grader reader level. Well, so here's the thing. Riddle me this. Have you ever seen the Hemingway app? Hemingway editor. Okay. So in the Hemingway editor, it forces you to write simple sentences that are direct and active. Yeah. You can read that there. Well, the app highlights lengthy, complex sentences and common errors. If you see a yellow sentence, shorten or split it. If you see a red highlight, your sentence is so dense and complicated that your readers will get lost trying to follow its meandering, splitting logic. Try editing this sentence to remove the red. Okay, so like, this is the kind of sentence that I like to write. So let's see if I could give you an example here. Okay. Actually, I think I might have already put this one in the Hemingway app. Is futures trading for you? Okay, yeah. So I get a lot of stuff in here. Okay. Are my videos the way my sentence structure and everything, like on one hand it's kind of like I'm saying, oh, I'm so smart, but then on the other hand, if people can't follow it, it's not actually smart or good writing. So I wish there was an app that would help me write. Oh, that's a fifth grade level. Interesting. So even though I have complicated sentences and everything, it says that my readability is grade 5. Because what I would like to see, or what I think I want to do, is write something that has nothing highlighted in it, but the grade level is like college. That's what I want. That's how I want to think of myself, you know? Clearly, I'm not that kind of a writer, am I? Let's put if I take my earn to trade video, which I actually did go through the whole app and like fix. That one is a grade 5 too. Well, apparently I just write at a grade 5 writing level. And 20 adverbs. I don't know. There's an app that tells you what personality type your writing indicates that you are. Oh, really? Let's try it. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Classify text. Copy. I'm going to put the whole text in there and classify it. It says that I'm an INTJ. Oh, wow. I'm really surprised that it did that. So, what? Okay. Huh. Wait. Let's do the other one. We'll go back. Classify. INTJ and INTP. Huh. Well, I'm still kind of the opinion that Myers-Briggs isn't really very effective, but that they're able to take text and classify it so effectively, and it does match up with how you classify me, doesn't it? I think you are truly an NTP, but INTJ is close enough to be a fraternal twin. You could be either. That's so interesting that it picks up on that. I still think the issue that I have with these kind of classification apps is although there may be some truth to it, that there's like the personality types can fit into categories. I haven't seen any evidence that shows that you can use this information to your advantage. You know what I mean? Like that if you go in and you type everybody in your organization and then change how they interact with each other based off of that, it doesn't make anybody more effective or anything like that. But anyways, well, maybe I need to get something that will help me write at a higher rating. But maybe it's good that my writing is at a 5th grade level, right? It's more on YouTube at least. It's supposed to be conversational. But anyways, I crave more sophisticated news sources. I feel like that so much of what gets put out there is just dumb, I guess you could say, and it Reddit in particular really frustrates me because I run across so many people that just say dumb things like this thing with mask mandates or vaccine mandates, and I continually see people make arguments that, you know, this is a constitutional issue, really. Like this is a question of law. Like, what kind of laws are constitutional or not? What kind of laws are effective public policy or not? Those are the two questions. But with vaccine and mask mandates in particular, it's a question of law, I think. And I continue to see people make these arguments that, you know, if you took that to the Supreme Court, you'd be laughed out of the Supreme Court. I just don't get it. Your introverted logic is fantastic, UTI, way better than I can, and I am an INTJ. You're a more well-balanced NTP who has a strong pattern recognition. Perhaps. So the thing with the pattern recognition is that is an ADHD thing, right? But I've heard you say that many times, and my mind always kind of pushes back because I know that like the pattern recognition part of trading is not actually as big of a deal as people want to believe. If anything, my expert pattern recognition has allowed me to realize how inconsistent the market really is on this sort of stuff, you know? Well, I have a little bit of oatmeal. Let me eat some here. And let's see here. TI is introverted logic. And this means you want accuracy to define words logically. So if pattern recognition throws you off, we need better words. This is why I think you are more NTP. So one of the problems that I have in my life right now, I think, is that, you know, well, you don't go out much anymore. Because of COVID. So most of what I see is on the internet and what I do at work. All of the other people at work, they're engineers, right? So even if that's maybe not your personality, you start to think a certain way if you're an engineer, right? And So, but then I'll get on Reddit and I'll read all of these comments from people that do not want to talk about an issue logically, and I find it infuriating. And the fact, me being on my ADHD medications, I think don't help, because the amphetamines tend to make you less empathetic. It's not like you don't feel empathy or you don't understand empathy like a narcissist does. It's just in the moment you don't really care, right? It's like you're so focused on the logic and getting the thing done, you don't think about those things until afterwards, unless that's like what the situation really truly calls for. So, like, particularly in an argument, I have no empathy for them, because all I can think of is, yeah, but what you're saying is unconstitutional and stupid. You feel like you need a vacation? You think A's is a feeler type? They get upset or their feelings hurt. Usually women are more ethos and logos. Feelers are empathetic, but they tend to wait for emotions to move them. That's interesting, because I often feel like that Ace understands the logic. It's like, I don't think that Ace makes arguments like he wants to feel a certain way, and so he ignores the logic of things to make. But I do think that he'll make an argument just to make me mad, or to prod me. You know what I mean? But the thing is I don't think that a lot of the arguments that people are making these days, they're making because they're empathic. Like, there was a time when that was a thing, like especially during the George Bush years and maybe during the Obama years. A lot of the things were like, like with immigration, for instance, is like, you need to be more empathetic, and continually felt like that people in politics were trying to use empathy to convince you to do something that was objectively not in your best interest, right? But I'm not so sure that that's what we're getting out now. I feel like a lot of what happens now is people want to push things because, like, it makes them feel good without really thinking about the consequences on law and society and so on and so forth. So some of it is virtue signaling, like they want to say something because that makes them appear virtuous, and so they push that, But other ones are just like, like a vaccine mandate. Like, from their perspective, everybody would be better off if everybody was forced to have a vaccine by law. Ergo, we should do it. And they don't, it's like a very simple, I can force everybody to do what I want. And they don't think, oh yeah, except for that we have a constitution and we have limits on what kind of laws we can make, and we can't make a law that violates the 14th Amendment. And so if I were to make a law that would arrest you for not having a vaccine, that would violate the 14th Amendment and would not be constitutional. You know what I mean? Morning, AM. I am eating instant steel cut oatmeal with flax seeds. Actually, not that all that hungry, but all I had was like bacon and a muffin, so I should require more. So that's why I'm trying to force myself to eat it here. Like I couldn't get myself to eat it all before I came here. Sounds deli. No, you buy it in the you get it at the grocery store. No, flax seeds. Is that not how it's pronounced? You're going to tell me that's not how it's pronounced, isn't it? I don't think I've ever actually heard somebody say that word. Is it pronounced flow seeds or something? By the way, Emini's having a pretty good run here, no? If you were an INFP, then your oatmeal would read like poetry. Like Caleb wrote, they make art out of their oatmeal and they tend to wax poetic about their water also, or complain it tastes heavy. I think I understand what people would mean by your water tasting heavy, but I don't run into that very often. I am somewhat of a water connoisseur. I like when you're on a road trip or whatever, you go to the convenience store and you're picking out your water, and there's so many different types, and some of the new waters that people have come out with are really good. Like the waters that are like synthetic water, they basically say like this is electrolyte purified water with minerals added to taste. That stuff tastes so good to me. About to cook some vegan food, so might be flax is what Rapunzel tried to spin into gold. Flaxseed is high in omega-6 fatty acids. You pronounced flax. Oh, is it really? Somebody I watched a video the other day and they were saying that omega-6 fatty acids will sit under your skin and are more likely when they get hit by the sun to create free radicals and age the skin essentially. And so they were saying some people, their skin looks really terrible when they get old. It's not because they were out in the sun too much, but because there's too much seeds in their diet. I was like, what? It's kind of weird. But then I was like, I couldn't remember omega-6 fatty acids. Those were good or bad or whatever. But omega-6, that's like what you get from fish and stuff, right? Those are the ones that you really need. Those are the ones that people don't have enough of it in their diet. I don't buy water unless I'm out and about. But there's some good water out there. There is some good water out there. I bought this one. Oh, is it omega-3? Okay. Omega-3 is the fish oil. And omega-6 is flax seeds. Is that right? No, I bought this one water. I wish I could remember what it was called, but they make it out like it is like this performance enhancing, like crazy, like it's being marketed like a Red Bull, right? But then you look at it, it's just water. It's just water with minerals in it. slap on an ASMR tag on the video and maybe like, oh my gosh, dude, my girls went through a mukbang phase, and for some reason they wanted to play that crap on the television, and it was always like the most gross Asian food sort of thing, and be as loud as possible. I'm like, nope, you put that on your phone and you go to your room and watch that, because I do not want to hear that crap. So and it was so, it really does, like, I know that it's not a positive thing to feel this way, that it's certainly kind of maybe calling out an insecurity on my part or something, but it kind of makes me mad that you can get on YouTube and make videos of you chewing food, because people have always told me that I chew loud. I mean, I try and keep my mouth closed, but my partners have always said that I chew too loudly and too quickly. And there's these people making millions of dollars on YouTube from it. What? How? What is wrong with people? Okay, well, I am a little surprised that the 10-year treasury has come down 3 or 4 ticks now. Yesterday, they weren't really responding to the up action in the E-mini quite the same way. So that's why I didn't expect them to fall the way that they have, although they have had to trade a decent amount of volume to do it. I don't think that a trade makes sense at this point, because we're really close to that 4,400 level. And, that's kind of where I feel like we likely might get stuck. Oh, you smoke? No. Oh. You should quit that. It's not good for you. No, so do you want to see? I'll show you the argument that I was having on Reddit. I don't know if you guys really care to read this whole thing, because it's an argument that we already had here on the stream. But what I find interesting about it is just like the way that people react. The way that people react. Okay, so the story was from, where is this? From Slate. Leftist rag. It's not a rag, but it is pretty left-leaning publication, right? The Republicans' new stance on COVID contradicts everything they've said about abortion. Okay, so I said, the Democrats' new stance on COVID contradicts everything they've said about abortion. See, it works both ways, right? Again, like, this is a thing that an argument that I see from the left all the time, that it's like that you realize that pointing out a contradiction doesn't necessarily mean that your side is right. It just means that you don't understand the other side's argument well enough to understand why they don't believe it's a contradiction, right? Or why your side doesn't believe it's a contradiction. So if you believe that people have bodily autonomy, then how can you justify giving them forcing a vaccine, because you're taking away their bodily autonomy, right? Well, the way that the Republican resolves this seeming contradiction is that they believe that a fetus is a person and that the fetus has bodily autonomy rights too, and so you can't violate its rights by murdering it in the womb. That's how the Republic. But what is the Democrat way of resolving this? That abortion is bodily autonomy, but forcing a vaccine is okay. Well, let's see what they say, shall we? Oh, okay. Nope. Safe and accessible abortion leads to a better standard of living, and so does not spreading COVID. Totally consistent. Okay, so they basically avoided the completely avoided the conundrum, which is why does one violate bodily autonomy and one does not? All right, because what I read from that comment is you are a far left authoritarian lunatic that is completely willing to take away any rights as long as it is for the public good. Violating people's bodily autonomy is okay as long as it's for the public good. Murdering people in the womb is okay as long as it's for the public good. That's my reading from that guy's comment. So I said as much, right? That's the one that's like down, right? But then it, it devolves down into should a fetus have the same rights as a person? I say it should. Like this idea that as soon as the baby comes out of the womb, then it has rights is just so absolutely ridiculous. Okay. Like nothing really changes when it comes out of the womb in the brain of the baby, right? Babies are born early all the time. Like it has a personality and it's doing stuff before it comes out of the womb. Okay. So I don't know at which point you say that it's a person, because I don't think that it's like as soon as the egg has been fertilized, okay? But it's before it comes out, all right? but it's at that point you're getting into an argument that's like too far away from like the original issue, so it's not interesting, right? But the thing that I find is funny is look at how many comments are like this. Yes, this is another way you can be dumb about. Okay, so that's not an argument. So what this means is this is the cognitive dissonance comment, right? They don't have an argument. They don't know how to argue against what I said. So they just make a dumb comment. Like they can't help themselves, but they're not contributing anything to the conversation. And lots of people upvote these for some reason. Explain that to me. Explain that to me. So in your eyes, abortion is exactly the same as COVID. Do I have that correct? In spite of the fact that abortions involve one person and COVID has affected billions, I think that people have bodily autonomy and that both issues touch upon the question of bodily autonomy. Is there a point at which the public good outweighs your right, your 14th Amendment right to bodily autonomy? Well, that's the thing that's at question. But when you get into the law, it gets very interesting. You've lost it. Okay, so here again, not an argument. You just knew this. Not an argument. Not an argument. Okay, I can't believe conservatives claim they're all about freedom and then enforce laws like everyone driving on an assigned side of the road. If I have freedom, why do I have to drive on the right side of the road? It's my freedom to drive wherever I want. Wrong. Okay, so this is a fallacious argument that, again, if you were to make this argument in the Supreme Court, it's absolutely ridiculous, okay? Whether or not something is good for society is irrelevant as to whether or not it is constitutional. The reason that we have a constitution is because we know that, historically speaking, people will come up with justifications to justify why they should be able to take these rights away from you, because it's for the public good to take these rights away from you. That's why we have a constitution, right? So Enforcing a law like everybody driving on the assigned side of the road does not violate your 14th Amendment, okay? What is the 14th Amendment? No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within his jurisdiction equal protection of the laws. Right? So this is where it actually kind of gets interesting, because if I'm a school, if I'm a university, and I say you have to be vaccinated to attend my university, that's not a policy that I think that you should enforce, but it is constitutional. And in fact, that has come before the Supreme Court on more than one occasion, and they've always ruled that the mandate stands, because you can go to a different university, right? But if Joe Biden came out and he made a federal mandate that said you have to be vaccinated by this date or you're going to be arrested, or you can't go shopping, or you can't go outside, then they would be violating your life and liberty. The federal government would be violating your life and liberty. That would be an unconstitutional law, right? A grocery store might be able to say you have to have a vaccine to be able to come in here. I think that if a Walmart started to enforce something like that, it would really hurt them, but they could do it, right? Because you can go shop somewhere else. But if there was a federal mandate on that, no. But then there's this other place that they're going where Joe Biden really wants to enforce a mask mandate or a vaccine mandate of some kind at the federal level, right? So what if they said, in order to go to public school, you have to have the vaccine? And now we're kind of in fuzzy ground, because you have to go to school. So would that be a violation of your 14th Amendment? I think you could make the argument. I don't know if you would win in court. The military must get vaccinated. Yeah, you're right. Was my right violated because if I wanted to keep my job, I had to play by the rules? No, because when you join the military, you are voluntarily giving up some of your rights. Yeah. The way stuff is going, it turns out that having no friends and relegating your life to just work, your partner, and your pets is advantageous on average. My wife is literally the only person I see in a given week. My life was like that before COVID, so whatever. It's true, but it's not good for people or society. Like you can see here with me, one of the issues that I'm having is that I don't have interaction with a wide enough array of people. But like here's the thing so kind of what got us on this was Wynn was saying, well, these are the certain kinds of arguments that different kind of personalities would make. Okay. But what I don't understand is, why does the internet at large make the same mistakes over and over again and tend to fall down on the same mistakes? I don't think that that's explainable by people's personalities. You know what I mean? No, you have the right, liberty, and freedom to drive. I don't think that you understand what life, liberty, and property means. Okay? Driving, if you can't drive, that does not violate your liberties. Okay. There's already a vax mandate in order to enroll your crotch goblin to school. So I've already covered that one. Well, I'll have to respond to him later. But the government has said that a school mandate is okay because you cannot go to school. Okay. But if you were to arrest me, then it would be violating my life, liberty, and property. Why do people make these same fallacious arguments over and over again? I don't get it. The idea of no buy or sell is the idea of the beast from the Catholic Church intending by COVID false virus. I don't think it is, actually. But I don't know if I want to get into the so the mark of the beast was basically code word for talking about the Roman government. Perhaps there is some illusion in the future about things that could happen in the future, but that was really a coded message that Christians at the time would understand as talking about the current emperor at the time. And that's where the whole mark of the beast came from. And this whole thing about you'll have to put a number on your forehead or you won't be able to buy or sell things, and it really means a microchip. I don't think that is actually borne out by a true scholarly understanding of the scripture. But I'm not saying that to like say that you're wrong, but I'm saying that to be like, I bet you would be interested in that. Go and search about it on the internet. And you'll find more about it. The Constitution provides rules to set up an acceptable form of establishing rules that are agreed upon to make a functioning civilization, which supersedes complete liberty. Well, okay, so what do we mean? Let's do some reading. Constitution, definition, liberty. The term liberty appears... okay, here we go. Legal Information Institute. The term liberty appears in the due process clauses of the 5th and 14th Amendments. As used in the Constitution, liberty means freedom from arbitrary and unreasonable restraint upon an individual. Freedom from restraint refers to more than just physical restraint, but also the freedom act according to one's own will. On numerous occasions, the Supreme Court has sought to explain what liberty means and what it encompasses. For example, the Supreme Court in Meyer v. Nebraska stated liberty denotes not merely freedom from bodily restraint, but also the right of the individual to contract, to engage in any of the common occupations of life, to acquire useful knowledge, to marry, establish a home, and bring up children, to worship God according to the dictates of his own conscience, and generally to enjoy those privileges long recognized at common law as essential to the orderly pursuit of happiness by free men. Okay, so constitutionally, if you were to write a law that says if you are not vaccinated, you can be arrested, that would be violating the freedom from bodily restraint aspect of liberty and would be unconstitutional. Yeah? Liberty under the law extends, let me start over. In Bowling v. Sharp, the Supreme Court stated liberty is not confined to mere freedom from bodily restraint. Liberty under law extends to the full range of conduct which the individual is free to pursue, and it cannot be restricted except for a proper governmental objective. Okay. So this is where it gets, where you kind of get into the fuzzy area, right? Because preventing the spread of COVID is a proper governmental objective. So I think it would be proper to say that the government could restrict your liberties in order to affect the greater good of trying to prevent the spread of COVID. Okay, so for instance, a lockdown. Okay, if the lockdown is equally applied to everybody and it is implemented by the local government, this has been upheld in the Supreme Court before, right? That's why I'm saying it really depends on what the mandate is, right? If the mandate is you have to be vaccinated to go to school, constitutional. If the mandate is enforced by an individual business, you can't come in here unless you have a vaccination, that would be constitutional. But if the mandate was, if we catch you outside and you don't have your vaccine papers on you, then you're going to be arrested, then it would be unconstitutional because it would violate your freedom from bodily restraint. Right? They can't come in and say, because you have not chosen to do this thing to your body, you no longer have freedom to leave your home. That's very clearly unconstitutional, right? But there are fuzzy areas where certain levels of mandates could be enforced. Yeah. I seriously think we're headed towards another lockdown. Maybe not the same way last year, but there's going to be problems ahead. Probably not. So we're already past the peak in places where the Delta variant is a problem right now. We're peaking or past the peak. And if we're not past the peak, we're going to be past the peak in a week or two. So, there are places that are still locking down to some extent, but yeah, you're not going to have this global thing. I do kind of wonder, because Joe Biden is pushing this whole, mask mandates at school sort of a thing. And I think that this is a poor battle for him to pick, because by the time anything of that comes to a head, the Delta variant is going to be passed, and people are going to be making the argument that the kids don't need to wear, I don't think the public support for it is going to be less, essentially, because the Delta variant won't be as big of a thing, unless we're at, the Ligma variant or whatever is going to be next. I'm watching New Zealand. They refused to mask up, and they are looking at another. No. They did not refuse to mask up. The New Zealand was like the most aggressive of any country. What is happening in New Zealand and Australia is absolutely 100% unconstitutional. Like, I used to think Australia was an okay place. Oh, no way. I've learned my lesson. There's no way you could say, Seth, we've got this job for you. We'll pay you $1 million a year, but you have to live in Australia. No, wouldn't do it. Wouldn't do it. That is coming soon. That's why there's a continuous variant until 2022. I don't know, man. Is it possible to continue to have variants that overwhelm the hospitals, though? I don't know about that. By the way, the E-mini just blew through 4,400. So, I was saying, I don't know if we've really got a good setup today, etc., etc. Well, we could have bought the E-mini, but I wasn't able to predict that flow. How much volume has come in, by the way? 7K? That's a lot of volume to be happening before the open. You know what? I don't have financial juice. I always forget to click the launch button. It used to be that you just open up the tab and they would automatically come on, but apparently not. I don't see anything coming in here like where it could be coming from. Google is shutting down its embattled health division. Okay. U.S. equity funds see a big jump in weekly inflows. U.S. equity funds secured their biggest inflow in nearly 2 months in the week to August 18th, boosted by optimism over corporate profits and a rebound in the U.S. economy. Really? That is so weird. Why would people... Because the risk sentiment on the street has been very decisively negative. Lambda is next, yeah. But like, again, if an area has already been ravaged by Delta, will they get ravaged by Lambda? I don't know if it works that way. But Lambda does have spike mutations, okay. This is where, again, I kind of question, is the vaccine really actually better than natural immunity? Yeah, you're going to have all of these antibodies for a spike, but then you're going to come into a variant that has a different spike protein shape, and the vaccine will be useless to you. But the natural immunity will still have some effect. And the CDC seems to ignore this, but... Anyways, man, I'm really wondering here, like, what should I be trading this? I mean, I'm really feeling the left out, but I can't just, what makes me think that flow is going to continue? I don't know. Clearly somebody's trying to push it somewhere though, and it's further than 4,400, so I don't know. From what I read, having the vaccine means you fight off COVID easier, have less symptoms quicker. Well, yeah, but so to understand this issue, I think that you have to get into like, how does your immune system actually work? And one of the key things is that your body produces antibodies, and those antibodies attach to the virus and make the virus ineffective, and then mark it so that your other immune cells will come in and attack the virus. So if you have something that an antibody against the spike protein itself, which is the little spikes on the coronavirus, which is what connects to the cell and allows the access to enter the cell, right? Then you disable the virus, okay? But there's other parts to the virus too that your immune system might also develop antibodies for, right? So you have natural immunity. You will have antibodies against both the spike and other things, but you won't have as many antibodies against the spike as you would if you had gotten the vaccine. Okay, so what happens if there is a mutation in the spike that makes your antibodies useless? Then a person with natural immunity would still have antibodies for the other parts of the virus, possibly, and so they may fare better. That's the argument. And the concern of among scientists, or at least among, let's say, the vaccine hesitant group as well, is that they are saying, yes, you're going to give everybody the vaccine, but the vaccine is going to, because the vaccine doesn't completely prevent you from having the virus or spreading it, it makes it more likely to develop a variant where the spike has been mutated, essentially, right? And then when the spikes are mutating so much, then you'll never develop herd immunity against it. It just will always be a thing, like the flu is. Although the reason that the flu is a problem is because a flu is like a more complicated virus. But like the thing is like, would this be like a disaster to society? No, it would be just like the flu. It would be, everybody knows that the flu is out there and that sometimes you can catch it. But over time, the population as a whole will have a pretty decent base immunity against it, so that it's not like an emergency every year. I don't know where the public policy goes against it. I'm really skeptical that this will continue to be a thing after the Delta variant. I feel that the only reason that the Delta variant is a thing is because there were still areas that weren't really hit the first time. I think that every area, every country is going to have a problem at some point. I think like places like Australia and New Zealand that have been doing everything possible to keep it locked down and prevent any kind of a breakout, that what's going to happen is they're going to get everybody vaccinated and the virus will continue to mutate and they'll get hit by a mutation of it later. And, but then once you've been hit, that the risks are pretty minimal. I could be wrong about that. That's pretty, what is the word? Speculative on my part, I think. COVID variants will be a thing for the rest of our lives. The only question is how much severity it'll lose. Yeah, at what point will people stop caring about it? At what point does it stop becoming the preeminent political issue in our lives? Well, what is the E-mini going to do here? Do you think that the E-mini is just going to continue lifting off here on the open? Or do you think that they're going to head fake and sell after this? I can't say. In the order flow I continue to see in the 10-year kind of is just telling me it's not worth trying to play. I do feel like I missed out here, though, on this move. Take a quick moment to smash. Take a quick COVID-less moment to smash, bash, crash, or tap the like button. Okay, so while we're getting on here, of course, you guys are going to have to focus. But here's the thing that I really wanted to talk about today. Do you know what I really want to talk about today? OnlyFans. You guys heard the OnlyFans thing, right? Come on. I know you guys all want to talk about the OnlyFans thing, right? That's all about is wiping as many in the human race. Well, okay, so OnlyFans administrators like, dude, no, come on. Okay, so OnlyFans is a website where there's a lot of content creators that are girls and post nude pictures of themselves and so forth. And yesterday, they came out and they said that they will no longer allow sexually explicit content, which means you can't have content that is like pornographic, like two people having sex. That's not allowed on OnlyFans anymore. I thought OnlyFans was for sexy. I could have an OnlyFans. I mean, the OnlyFans is basically Patreon with more lax rules about what your content can be. Vlad says that will kill business. Where are they going to go? Twitch. I'll make a bet with you. I'm willing to put. I would be willing to put money if I could invest in OnlyFans today. I would do it. I would put $10,000 down on private shares if I could do it right now. I'm going to bet you that a year from now they will be making more money than they are making right now. If OnlyFans bans porn, at least the restaurant industry will have no shortage of servers. Why is it good? So here's what people are missing. The internet is wrong. I looked at this everywhere, okay, on Reddit. They're like, oh, that's the end of OnlyFans. They're done. That's like all of their content. You're wrong. You're wrong. And here's where you're wrong. OnlyFans is banning sexually explicit content. But in the statement that they released to all of the news outlets, they specifically stated that you will still be allowed to post nude content. So you can still post nudes and lewds, just not porn. And here's my argument. Sexually explicit content is a vast minority of the content on the website. The vast majority of the money is coming from sexy pictures and cosplay pictures and maybe nudes, but not from outright porn. So I'm betting that if they lose revenue off of this, and of course, we'd have to give it a little bit of time because you would want to see how the public reacts if people start to like boycott the website and leave the website in solidarity with their porn actress colleagues or something like that. But I don't actually think that's going to happen because, like, here's the thing. people are making money off of this. It's an income stream. So when if you were making sexually explicit content and you were making thousands of dollars a month from OnlyFans doing it, what do? Do you just completely abandon your OnlyFans account and lose that income stream? Or do you adjust your content that you post on OnlyFans to be within the rules and then go and move your explicit content to a different platform? So I'm betting you that they don't even lose 1% of their revenue off of this. And it's made a big PR thing for them. Like everybody's here. This was like the biggest story on the internet yesterday. So everybody's hearing about it. And now everybody knows that OnlyFans is trying to go for a more general audience. Okay. So the audience that they're going to pick up, if they are successful, and everything that I've heard about this website, I've never used it, but everything that I've heard about this website suggests to me that it's really effective and that it's more than just Patreon. That they've done a really good job with the website. The audience that they're going to pick up is orders of magnitude larger than the audience and the money for the explicit content. So they're not just going to be making more money a year from now. They're going to be making a lot more money a year from now. What I saw, Twitch streamers and Instagirls link to OnlyFans, so there will be another relink if OnlyFans bans. Yes, but the question, and this is where the kind of the issue is that like, we don't actually have like straight metrics on this, but how many of those Twitch streamers, Vlad, that you've seen where they have a link to OnlyFans, do you think that when you go into the OnlyFans that there's going to be a video of them being plowed by another guy or a video of them masturbating? Versus how many of them do you think that there will be pictures that are sexy and maybe even pictures of them nude, but that are not sexually explicit, that aren't hardcore pornography? I'm going to bet you the whole thing is that that's kind of been like a mild, like these girls have realized, oh, if I just post nude pictures of myself and it's not really a huge deal and I can make a ton of money, and they're not like outright doing porn. I'm going to bet you that the amount of money that they're going to lose by kicking out the explicit content is going to be less than 1%. I'm willing to bet money, if they were a stock, if they were a stock, they would be getting hammered today, right? If they were a stock, their stock would be down like 50%, whatever. I'd be buying the dip. I'd 100% buy the dip. Internet is wrong about this. There you go. Chicks, it ain't even got to work hard, man. You don't need to be nude. Just dress like a comic book character, show some cleavage and tummy, and milk the Star Wars voice for life. Yeah. Well, it's like I don't want to make it appear like, you know, if a girl is doing that they're a bad person or anything else like that. But you are right. You don't have to go that far. These girls are making tons of money just by having cute outfits. I'm getting the Amber Alert. A gold Chevrolet Silverado. Suspect is Derek Michael Rowley, who is 6 foot, 190 pounds. Well, I'm not. You know what? If I see that guy, I ain't bothering him. And police can deal with that. Victim is an 8-year-old. The thing that I hate about these Amber Alerts is that you don't know that, you know, like, is Derek Michael and Manson Rowley, is that like her dad? You know, like it's probably a custody dispute thing. Anyways, I think that the Amber Alert system gets abused. The modern male has low standards in terms of porn or sexual gratification. I don't know. Like on TikTok in particular, I don't know why it shows me this stuff on TikTok more. Because I remember seeing these kinds of arguments on Reddit. Maybe it's that they banned everybody on Reddit and now they're talking about it on TikTok, or maybe it's just that the app picks up that these arguments are interesting to me. But I was seeing a lot of arguments that millennials are having less sex because the women are all using dating apps and they're only going for the top 20% of men. And so the majority of men are just left out in the cold. And that's why the millennials in general are having less sex. I'm not sure I believe that. I'm not sure I believe that. I would really need to see the data on that to prove that that's really what's happening and that it's not just that like millennials are socially inept, you know? But a lot of people do believe that that's what the case is. And so that's why they're so heavily focused on the hypergamous nature of women in this sort of an argument. I'm not convinced that that's actually a societal problem. They can satisfy themselves to action figures, no need for women to cross the line. Anyways, like I feel so last night when I saw this, because I saw so much stuff on my TikTok feed about OnlyFans banning porn. And I'm like, well, you know, like, yeah, I'm a conservative person. I've never used OnlyFans. How do I make this assertion that it's only a small portion of their revenue? Unless I can say, like, I browse OnlyFans a lot and contribute to a lot of OnlyFans, and I know that most of them don't post porn, you know? Like, you can't make that argument, right? So I was like, I don't know if I should really like because if I make a TikTok about it, it could go viral, you know? But no, I just can't stand it. The internet is wrong. They need to be told that they're wrong, guys. So now you all know that it's not gonna kill it. I think that OnlyFans is gonna do better after this. Okay, so here's the one that you'll find interesting, Uzi. I saw a TikTok and this guy made a compelling argument. I'm not convinced that he's right. I'm not saying that I think he's right, but I think that he made a compelling argument. And his argument was thus. The majority of leftist policy positions are not born out of any kind of fundamental belief or ideological framework, but are rather based more on fulfilling temporary selfish needs as opposed to looking towards the future. And so he says everything that they take is about them being able to feel good in the moment, whether that is feeling good about themselves in that moment because they're virtue signaling, or trying to escape any consequences from possible negative things that they might do, like with abortion. And he went through like a bunch of different hot political issues of the day and tried to explain why that was the case. Uzi says, I'd agree to a degree. Well, I think maybe the reason why I feel this is compelling to me is because when I was in high school, the people that were liberal, really liberal, that's why I felt that they were being liberal. It was like, well, you only think that because you want to have premarital sex right now, and that's you know, that's your carnal desire. You're not saying this because that would make America a more effective society. People may earn money from OnlyFans that way, but will continue to feel guilty in heart for life. Well, but I think that what you're going to see is that OnlyFans is going to become much more socially acceptable and common. I think that they're making a push to make this more acceptable and reach a larger audience. And this is part of it. And part of what you've got to do is you've got to get rid of the truly sexually explicit content so that, payment processors and everybody else won't have a problem with you. An open society will cause women to fly away to the society. No. I don't know. It was interesting to think about. So now I've been thinking about that. Every policy, every position that I see people take, I'm asking now, okay, so are they only taking that position because it fulfills their own selfish hedonistic tendencies? News Squawk posted a picture of the donuts they got this morning. Okay, well, so there was a little bit of selling on the open, maybe, but the cumulative delta continues to be very, very strong, and the E-mini is pushing new highs now, but the Treasury is once again not following. The Treasury reverted back to where it was. I mean, they're still below the open. They're still below the place where I was like, well, didn't really expect them to come down like that. Are we going to get something like we got yesterday where the S&P-500 goes great, but the treasuries don't follow? Because I find that a little disconcerting when that happens. We've shaped a culture where women can still do that and be praised for it. Men can't be masculine and picky without being scumbags. Women can be picky, masculine, scumbags, ugly, pretty, whatever. And still be picky without being told that they're scumbags. Okay. Alternate theory. I have an alternate theory, Goosey. I think that the vast majority of things about relationships don't make any sense at all unless the relationship is about having kids. So why would anybody give up 50% of everything that they own or risk 50% of everything that they own just to call their relationship a marriage? That makes zero sense. Makes zero sense at all. Frankly, you could live in different houses and each have your own separate things, and you could be perfectly happy having a monogamous sexual relationship with them, right? It was just more convenient to live together, but why would you risk 50% of everything that you make and all of that? Why wouldn't you still just keep it separate? Why would you take that risk? That risk only makes sense if there are children involved. It only makes sense if there are children involved, right? Or let me take it another way. If all it's about is my own personal relationship desires, why shouldn't I just go and find the hottest guy I can? Especially if you were a girl. Why wouldn't you just go after the hottest, richest guy that you could? Right? Doesn't matter, because if there's not kids involved, right? If there's kids involved, then it's different. Then it's like, well, is this guy actually going to be a good father to my children, right? But if it's not, then you're just going to go for that top 20% of guys, right? So I would argue that these relationship issues between men and women in the United States that are talked about on social media today, that those issues exist primarily because of the push to make marriage about something other than raising children. I still think there's a companionship aspect that's worth 50% of my life. Really? I don't know if you would think that if you were getting divorced. I go back like my first marriage. Okay, we didn't do that. Like everything that I got from my family during the relationship, I kept, and everything that she got from her family during the relationship, she kept. And we had very few assets that were together, and we split them up. But it wasn't a big deal. If it was like now, and I had to give up the house and everything else, then I would be like, no. The only reason that I even have a house is because of kids. I wouldn't, if it was just me and Melissa, I would tell her, no, I don't care that you want a big house. I don't, and I'm not going to spend money on that. I want to live in a 1-bedroom apartment with a desk and a bed, and that's it. That's what I would do if I lived alone. Would be a nice room. Would be a 1-bedroom apartment with a bed and a desk in it. And that'd be it. maybe a bedroom and a front room. Or maybe a separate room for the office. Elon Musk is already married. Because he says he had someone. Oh, okay, I don't know. I just think that in that situation, there's always going to be too many people that come back and say, wait a second, this is really advantageous to me. Like, do I really gain anything from actually making this agreement? Like, I get to call it a marriage, but I have to risk 50% of all my stuff. Like, well, what's the difference? Right? The only reason I think that marriage makes sense is to create a binding contract that ensures safety and security for the children. Ooh, do you see the treasuries right there? Oh, mama. What was that? The E-mini sure liked that. And I'm just sitting here staring at it, man. Well, the difference between the two of us is that if we were to get divorced, it wouldn't, man. So after 20 years though, but if you did get divorced, it would be ugly, right? Well, I'm not saying it would be ugly, like there would be like a lot of animosity between you, but like figuring out how to split the assets would be difficult. New Zealand is background, not surprising. That is a little crazy. And for the treasury to just plunge like that? Am I missing something here? It was right at 7:45. Oh, there wasn't news at that time, was there? I didn't hear anything on Financial Juice. Let's check Forex Factory. Friday. There's nothing on the the 20th listed. The ugliness on a divorce is contingent upon the person. I'm not an evil man. I'm a simple one. If the wife wanted to leave me, it is what it is. I see. You would just be like, okay, you want the house, you want this, because you don't need anything. Oh man. Okay, at 7:45, there was a move that very much had very much the hallmarks of informed trading. We saw a pretty large push of volume. We saw it across assets, and it moved things quite a bit. And I see absolutely no news or anything. There's no reason for that to happen. And I can only chalk it up to that equities are just being super crazy after getting pummeled so hard early in the week, and that the word like gamma is moving them now. Perhaps the treasuries are gonna... Okay, wait. Okay, here's something about Congress holding off a tax, but I can't explain what just happened there. I think that I just have to sit out because they're happy about something, but I don't know what it is. I mean, I would have liked to have taken a trade in this today. That would have been a good $20 move. I mean, the issue is that oftentimes when women get older, then they don't see a need for the marriage anymore and they end it. But that's probably not so much a concern for you because you've been married for 20 years and never had kids. So when it says UK retail sales, I don't know. This is so weird. Let's see here. If I add all of the currencies, then does something pop up for Friday? No. I have seen no news slated. Your wife made you $1 million? Oh, really? Oh, okay. So does that mean that we get to add you as like trader number 3 or 4, that a major reason behind why they were able to become successful as a trader is because their wife was rich? I keep telling my mom, she really likes playing Pokemon Go these days. Like, it's so funny because when I started out, I was looking back at it. It's like, oh yeah, I played the game for like 2 months before she made an account. And even at the beginning, she didn't really do it. But like, as time has gone out, she has become more and more, I would almost say, obsessed with the game. You know, like, we have to go out at least once a day to make sure that we go and swipe a Pokestop. It's that sort of a thing. And I'm like, okay, so like, stream playing Pokemon Go. You know, people would love to watch you do it. And they can hear you gush about how cute your Pokemon are. I know people would love that. Go do it, and then we can be rich. She doesn't seem to be interested in doing that. Or maybe it's that she doesn't really think that she could actually do it and be successful at it. I don't know. If it was Pokemon Go and she was walking around all day playing Pokemon Go, I think it would. But you'd have to, how would you stream it on TikTok? That'd be hard. So I think you'd want to do it on TikTok. Your wife is more likely to be comfortable as a co-pilot first. Maybe take her out and show her how this is done. Now look for cute videos. So the issue is that I can come into TikTok and you can stream TikTok, right? But it just uses your camera. So if she was playing Pokemon Go, people would be able to see her, but not her thing. Or she can have one phone videoing the other phone. But if you do it over YouTube, maybe it would be better to do it over YouTube. If you do it over YouTube, they have in their app a thing that will record your screen and show you your little camera in the corner, which is probably what you would want. So maybe she should stream on YouTube. I wonder. Oh, wait. Okay. We can research this. I got to distract myself because this is one of those instances. I do not have a fundamental trade here. I don't know where they're going to go. I don't know if this is crazy or if it's going to reverse or what. I'm getting the inkling that they're just going to try and push it as far as they can today, which is fine, but I'm not sure that I can really put risk on it. So I'm going to distract myself. Let's go to YouTube. Bum, 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 ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, bum, bum. And Pokemon Go. There's new galore. Oh, look at this. Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. Okay, I'm definitely showing her that one because I'm like, look at this girl. You can do this better. Look at. I'm gonna show that to Melissa and be like, you could do this better. No dark mode enabled. I don't care. It's where is it that you set that? Appearance, dark theme. I don't really care. This whole thing about people like making a big deal over whether it's dark mode or not is like, I think so silly. I don't care. Most of the internet has always had a white background. The brightness burns my skin. You could do this better, Melissa. Okay, wait. But what we really want to know is is there anybody live on Pokemon Go right now with lots of people watching? No. There are people playing it live, but they only have like a few dozen viewers. Maybe it's too early. Maybe later in the day we can go back and we can look at this. NASDAQ trader says white mode is discussed. I know there's a lot of people that complain about YouTube not having a dark mode, and as soon as dark mode got put in, they were like, oh, I have to do it and use it. I never paid attention to it. I never cared. I guess I'll use dark mode. It probably is better for YouTube. What is it with Melissa's, by the way? My neighbor across the street, we grew up in the same neighborhood. His ex is named Melissa and his current girlfriend is named Melissa. It was a common name at that time, yeah. Kind of like it seems like there's a personality with Melissa too. Like Melissas are a certain kind of way. That's one of the things that I've always seen people say. So that, like, when you know that a girl is named Melissa, you know a lot about her personality. It's kind of like Tiffany too. This is like if a girl is named Tiffany, you know something about her personality, and you might not want to go there. So I have a cousin that changed her name from Tiffany, because she felt like people treated her differently because of her name. Are you a game connoisseur? No, I'm not a game connoisseur. I play games. I keep track of games, but I have a specific type of game that I like to play, and it's not popular anymore. And I'm giving up. Tiffany's got a tramp stamp and likes Jet. And it has plenty of drama. Has she taken a Pokemon? What is her? I don't know. I don't know what her INT personality type is. And would that be good for Pokemon? All I'm saying is what I watch her do is like, okay, I caught this Pokemon. Now I'm going to evolve. Oh, you're so cute. And she like cute talks the Pokemon like she would the baby. And it's hilarious. Like we're all sitting there like watching her do it, and we're like, this is funny. Like me and the kids. And she likes playing, and I'm just like, so stream it and see how many people watch. Look, there's this lady. She's just as old as you are. Seemingly just as old as you are. I think you're better looking than her. I mean, my wife has a little bit of weight, but you'll be doing Pokemon. You'll be walking all day, so that'll fix that problem, right? You could do this better. You can do this better. And I can do all of the research for you to provide the informational content. I'd be all over it. Except for that, if it was taking that on, and we would both have to quit our jobs. That's what would probably have to happen. Yeah. Now I'm on Reddit and I'm seeing all the threads. What do I want to click on today? I need to go away from that because I don't want to get too deep into that. What's Stexhammer talking about here? Another day, another destroyed communist. It must be talking about that guy that owned the communist newspaper and fired all of his employees because they wanted to start an employee co-op. Nope, well, I don't see anything, so I don't know what he's talking about. Which Pokemon character are you? It's weird how many people love Pokemon. It kind of is. Well, the how much people like it, I think, is weird. Okay, so here's my thing with Pokemon. Okay, I remember when that game came out, and there was commercials on TV. And I'm like, well, that looks like a weird game. I wouldn't be so interested in that. I played Final Fantasy, so like I knew what a turn-based RPG sort of a thing was. But that sort of game certainly did not interest me. But my parents got it for me. Okay. Now, I was also in the grade. I don't know. I'm starting to think that it wasn't like an every grade. So I think it was just my particular grade in particular. It was like anything that kids liked that wasn't cool. It was like that was only the kids in the grade lower than us liked Power Rangers. Only the kids lower than us liked Pokemon, etc., etc. And so it was considered not cool. So I played the Pokemon game, and I beat it. I caught all 150 Pokemon and beat everything. Okay. Apparently there's a lot more that you can do, like trying to get perfect IVs and everything that I bet I would have done if I'd known about that stuff at the time. Okay. And I watched the cartoon, and I had memorized the Poke Rap. So like, it's funny because I was into it, but I didn't want to admit that I was into it because I was told that it was not cool. Didn't do the cards. That was the kids younger than us did the cards. Right? And then I grow up and all of a sudden Pokemon is cool. Now my wife is different because I don't think she knew anything about Pokemon before Pokemon Go. But I think she just really enjoys that game for some reason. And but I see the appeal to it. I think that there's something unique about Pokemon in that it is appealing to everybody. Like everybody will see a Pokemon that they think is cool or cute and that they like. And especially the ability to attract women is something that I think is unique about Pokemon. It is a little weird to me, though, how much people love Pokemon these days now. Them treasuries are having like really deep pullbacks. I suppose that those pullbacks aren't unusual for these days, but so when it pulls back, I think, you see, maybe that's a fluke. Maybe the treasury doesn't actually believe it. But then I'm saying, but I mean, that's how much they've been bouncing when stuff like that happens anyways. When I look at how much we've come down and how much delta we've lost, well, somebody dumped when that move happened in the treasury. I don't know. I still can't explain that move. That's crazy. No. Oh man. Okay, so there's this other argument that was going on. So, Brannigan Barrett was talking about the market and problems with the market, and he was saying, "How can you call this a free market when central banks are buying bonds?" And I was saying, the government can be a free participant in a free market system just like everybody else. So this person is saying the free market is an economic system based on supply and demand with little or no government control. Okay, government participation. I'm going to tweet. Government participation in the market is not the same thing as government control. Listen, there's this whole thing about you printing money and then you're going out and you're buying bonds with it, okay? And maybe they shouldn't be doing that, but the government is a participant in the market like anybody else, and they are free to participate in the market like anybody else. And in fact, government and free enterprise can be very effective partners. Ayo says, love Final Fantasy. You know, when I was a kid, that game really frustrated me. But then when I got older and I beat it, I realized how cool it was. How lucky I was to have played that game when I was 5. I wish that they would come out with a remastered version of it on the Switch so that I could play it. But well, I'm still watching this. The E-mini hasn't stopped yet, has it? We've had let's say that it started at 80, so we've had a 50-point move. It's still influential, maybe not direct control, right? But in that instance, right? The thing is, should the central bank be allowed to use its powers to buy assets on the market, to buy bonds or buy stocks? Okay, like that's a question about what should the Federal Reserve be allowed to do or not do. But to come in and to say, if the Federal Reserve or the federal government comes in and participates in the market in some way, that it's no longer a free market is ridiculous. Okay, like, okay, the government goes to the free market for services all the time, and a lot of American effectiveness, like for instance our aviation industry, that's all private industry, and then the government contracts with private companies. That is the government using the market, and the government can pick whichever company they want as long as they're being moral about it. There's not like corruption involved and things like, and there's laws about that, okay? But the government can participate in the market, and there are always going to be reasons why government might want to buy bonds. Right? Why companies might want to buy bonds from time to time, right? But what the Federal Reserve is doing is manipulating the market by printing money and doing things with it. Okay. I don't think that there is anything about a free market that prevents them from doing that. So it's not a question of a free market. It's a question of, is that actually an effective policy? I'm not so sure it is. Yeah, I'm really not so sure that it is, because there could be some really negative long-term consequences from it, right? So you might say that's an ineffective policy, and you should be arguing that's an ineffective policy and the Federal Reserve should not be doing it. But this argument that it's not a free market because of that, and that's why it shouldn't be allowed, I think is ridiculous. The internet is wrong, once again. Every once in a while they get me, but usually they're wrong. YouTube Finance says hell no, lol. I hate it when you guys make comments like that and I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to. What you're responding to. You got to remember that there's like a 5-second delay. Mike Richards has stepped down as the host of Jeopardy. Okay. Don't know anything about that. How would I put it? The Federal Reserve buying bonds does not make the market stop being a free market. It makes it a manipulated market, but it's still free. Well, the Treasury's 07.5. They've traded a lot of volume down here in this area as well. Like, kind of almost more than they traded at 10. So, like, when it came down here, the amount of activity and the Treasury certainly increased. That doesn't mean, I think that the typical read that TA traders would have is, oh, okay, well, since we came down to a new level and there's new activity, that must mean that they like these prices and they're going to buy it back up. But that's not really actually the case. It just means that there's more flow because something has happened that has increased their interest in it. Probably just because more people need to like hedge against a rise in interest rates now because the mini is trading the way that it is. But I still am not sure where the flow is coming from. I'm particularly weary about the degree and urgency behind the news without any catalyst. And I'd furthermore state that if this is just another big options trade, that when all of this gamma expires today, that could be really bad for the market on Monday, right? Because that's what happened last time around when we had that huge unclenching and move down, right? And in this scenario, a big down day like that would be a lot more damaging to the market. Because when it did it before, there was no real reason for the market to be down other than the unclenching. This time, there is a lot of data and information to suggest that the market could take a pullback. Elon Musk says Tesla is developing a humanoid robot that can eliminate dangerous and boring tasks. Tesla is aiming to launch the prototype of a humanoid robot called Tesla Bot next year. Is anybody else a little off put by Tesla when they seem to be investing in anything and everything? Like, from my perspective, you're a car company, get good at making cars, and that, like, venturing out into robots is a little bit too far outside of their core competency. I like a better example is Palantir. So everybody was like getting all excited. Palantir bought some gold. Palantir invested in a bunch of other companies. They're going to make so much money and I'm like, okay, but like, why aren't they supposed to be selling a service and data analysis? Like, why are they becoming a hedge fund all of a sudden? That's not. If your product is so good, why aren't you selling your product? Why are you investing in other people? That doesn't make any sense. It's the same thing with Tesla. If electric cars are the way of the future, why aren't you just making electric cars? Because Elon has ADHD and just wants to change the world about everything? Okay, sure, but then make it a separate company. Spin it off. I don't know. I guess maybe if it becomes popular, they will spin it off, but... USD retracing the gains as sentiment shifts. So we have had a decline in the dollar today, but it looks very mild to me, relatively speaking. So I'm not sure that I could blame any of this on currency flows. I think it really has to be coming from the gamma and so forth. Shall we go to Zero Hedge? I'm sure that they already have a story on this. Zero Hedge. New York Times admits plastic COVID barriers provide a false sense of security and could make things worse. Okay, well, I'll have to read that later. Oh, and there's a story about the prototype. A bond yields flash death cross as equity breadth crashes. The longer volatility is suppressed, the more it's going to pop. Yeah. U.S. investigates Moderna jab. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is again. Here's my issue with the vaccine. I'm not anti-vax, but which is the best vaccine? So I think we all decided that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is no good. But then there was a study that showed that the Pfizer vaccine was not as effective. But now the Moderna vaccine has 2.5 times higher risk of heart inflammation. So, yeah, death cross, Fibonacci retrace. I think that the death cross is a useless metric, especially when it's bond yields. Let's see what they're saying in the story. Equity futures are opening broadly weaker again this morning. NASDAQ is faring better than the S&P and the Dow futures. This pattern follows yesterday, in which the NASDAQ outperformed the S&P by over 50 basis points. All three indexes recovered nicely. This is just their morning thing, isn't there? Fundamental catalyst for that move. Oh wait, the graph below shows 30-year treasury yields with its 50 and 200-day moving averages. The vertical lines highlight the last 5 times 30-year yields have witnessed its 50-day moving average falling below its 200-day moving average, also known technically as a death cross. In 3 of the last 4 death cross instances, yields fell appreciably and reached record lows. The only time they didn't was in 2017. At the time, yields consolidated to negate the death cross. Yeah, okay. But basically, the death cross is happening because yields have decreased over the last month, and it's not. It's something that we've known has happened for a while. It's like a late signal. Ford, Toyota, and Volkswagen are trading lower in plans to cut production in September due to the ongoing chip shortage. Each consecutive market drawdown since the pandemic has been less than the previous one. That's a really cool chart. I like that a lot. Yep. We are really overdue for a move that goes down to here. That is a 20% drawdown. Investors in algorithms are increasingly quicker to buy dip and short volatility as such behavior has been rewarded. The risk going forward occurs if the market keeps falling despite dip buying. Well, yeah, but at what point are they gonna stop that? When people don't have any more money? Breadth is oh wow. So I had seen that breadth was getting really bad. They were talking about it over here, but it is really, really bad. So that we are getting a move up in the treasury or in the E-mini, but that it has low breadth is something I think that's important for us to note. So I think that we still have a good setup for Monday to be ugly. Although one has to question if it's not going to be. I mean, I think there's a fundamental reason for us to get a more significant pullback, but why wouldn't they just have one bad day and then buy the dip and be fine like they were last time? Especially if they're saying that they had record inflows. So where's all that money coming from? But that certainly is something that counters a lot of the information that we have, right? I think so. That's another important point that we should keep an eye on. So do we continue to get a lot of, because that's going to matter more than the CPI or that or consumer sentiment. Like if the money's still coming in, that negates what's consumer sentiment suggests that those flows could decrease in the near future. But if they don't, then the market's going to continue going higher because the people are putting the money to work. Well, the treasuries are still pressured, but they're having a very difficult time getting anywhere away from 07 halves. So oh man, the picture of their humanoid robot is like, what? It's basically going to start dealing with work that is boring, repetitive, and dangerous. Despite not having a prototype, that didn't stop Musk from claiming the robot would have a profound impact on the economy and the future. Okay. Instead of presenting a prototype, the presentation went full MDMA and instead introduced a person in a bodysuit that resembled the robot design to breakdance on stage to dubstep. What? Oh my gosh, what the fetch? How is this for real? You people invest money on this? What? This market is so effing stupid, man. I can't even. Wait. Fetch. Make me open Fidelity. There's this phenomenon I notice on Fridays where there are huge buy markets that get absorbed in the open and then the limits let go. Any explanation? Well, I think that it's options covering activity, but I'm not sure. What the hell? Oh, I have cap locks on. Oh, that makes me mad. Now they're gonna force me to reset it. That sucks. He's trying to be master of everything and he's like 50 now. Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. Okay, I fixed it. Good grief. That was a big mistake, but it's okay. I entered the password too many times, and the reason it wasn't working was because cap locks was on. Okay, Tesla 0.68 today. Well, okay. That's not so bad. Okay. I guess all is right in the world because it doesn't look like the stock cares. I bet you I got pummeled this week. It was let's look. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, that's bad. I lost a lot from my Goldman this week. The sumo's still not coming back. 1 year. Oh, it's kind of sad actually. It looks kind of sad over here. This fall way back here is like, ouch. I'm sure it'll come back later though. But the banks have gotten hit hard this week because the interest rates are just still low. This, I'm telling you, the current market correlations, somebody's going to be big time wrong here. Okay. You cannot have the S&P 500 continue to push new all-time highs and not have the interest rates rise. If everything is fine and hunky-dory, then the Federal Reserve is going to taper asset purchases in September, and they're going to raise interest rates mid next year. Okay? The S&P 500 either needs to take a pullback or the yields need to rise. Which one do you think is going to happen? Well, I suppose that the Treasury yields being low could still be a function of liquidity needs that aren't going to last. But then what does that mean? That means that the interest rates are going to rise. Do you have advice on obtaining venture capital? I wish I did. I don't know anything about that. That's something that I would like to know. You know, when I was younger, I always thought that I had ideas, but a lot of the ideas that I had were other people ended up doing and didn't end up being that big of a business anyways. And now, I don't feel like I really have many super great ideas like that I could go and get venture capital with, at least. Well, if you're only 22 years old, here's what I would do. I would try and search for opportunities to do business networking, especially if it's a place where it's like a business networking group that you have to pay to be a part of, as long as it's not ridiculously expensive. But, you know, maybe it's like $200 a month or something. And, you know, get business contacts that way. You gotta find them some way. Kind of really depends on what your idea is, though, too, right? Yeah. I was doing really, really great with my portfolio until the banks pulled back here. But I'm not gonna fret about it too much because I still only have like 3 investments in there. I don't really have a truly balanced portfolio. I never really found that next thing that I really was confident in. Still not sure what to do about it. Okay, so is the Treasury coming? There's a decent amount hitting into 08. I don't know, man. This whole market is just... I hate it when I get like this because I know that this kind of attitude hasn't really worked very well over the last like 10 years. But I just can't participate in this. We want to incorporate environmentally friendly environmental design with solar panel installation. Okay. I don't know if that one would make sense or not. I mean, if it's like have solar panels and then put a tree next to it, wouldn't that make the panels not get as much? Can't you just put a tree on there anyways? I don't know how that works out as a business. That might be a sort of a thing that you bootstrap yourself, though. I think the best kind of investment is one where you start the business on yourself, on your own time, and then as it becomes successful, you invest that back into it. By the way, the S&P 500 deltas is flipping back the other way and is selling. So I think that what you're getting here is a situation, where because of option hedges, you're seeing futures activity come in to hedge that options activity. So us getting it because of this situation, seeing the cumulative delta decreasing there does not mean that we're going to get a hard reversal here. We're sitting at one extreme here. Yeah. Well, the thing is that I really thought that with the dip that we had earlier in the week, that was really going to kill some of the options. But I think that what happened was like all of the weak players got flushed out, and that was like as far as it could go. And then it flipped back around again. And then they just added all of the risk all over again. So it didn't end up having a very long impact. So this is curious. I mean, in this situation, I mean, the thing is that what really bothered me yesterday was that the treasuries weren't moving. And this time they did move. But the weird thing about it this time was that it was just like a flush that happened so quickly. I suppose perhaps what was going on is that there was somebody out there bearish and was saying, no, yields are going to stay the same. And today, when the S&P 500 really took off like that, they had to puke because it was just so obvious that that wasn't working anymore. But from my perspective, that's not a trade that I'm going to be able to see from just the flow. And since I'm not sure I really had any reliable way of being able to anticipate that flow, I don't have a trade from it. Is my excuse for not making any of money on this. I don't know, man. It's so weird that we're seeing so many. I don't think I've ever been in a situation like this where the economic indicators are really giving me strong indications that the next 2 quarters are going to be difficult. And the market just continued plowing forward in the way that they are. I've certainly seen where, like, you don't get like a real pullback. It's kind of sideways and difficult, but like this just seems so off to me. This is like, what did you miss? Well, the S&P 500 is up like 50 points today. That's what we're talking about. But not only are they up 50 points, but there was a one point where they really moved quickly. They moved very quickly, and the yields moved as well. I would say that there's been a lot of reversion, and the treasuries are actually kind of even threatening to go back up to 10. We'll see if they do that, but because for now it kind of looks like they're probably going to get stuck around the 7.5 area. It's better to take 2 trades instead of 1. If there are 2 flows in the same direction, but when the first is over, it almost goes back to the entry point in the long run, which is better. I'm not so sure that the situation that you're describing here really gives us any increased probability of predicting anything. I would only want to be taking the trade based on the flows that I anticipate are going to come. you're trying to make a setup that is basically technical analysis. This Tesla thing, it's just like I'm just back to like, this is a clown market, man. Like, there was points at last year where it was like, this is a little crazy, and then we kind of like all accepted it, and okay, fine, like things are going great, the market should increase and everything. This is now reminding me of like some of the early parts of Trump's presidency, right? Like that first year, there was some points where the S&P 500 was floating up, and it was just insane. You know, since I'm not playing the music, this is probably looks more ridiculous than it actually was with the music. But I can't freaking believe that this is like a Tesla. It's simply putting together green roofs and solar. Okay, so do it. Do you have any existing experience in green roofs and stuff? Like, that's the problem that I see, that I'm sensing, is that you don't have any business experience in those areas. So I'm just kind of suggesting that there might be some things about those incentives and the practicality of installing that and everything that might make it not such a good idea. Because we don't really know. That's like what I would be worried about. So like, yeah, so the issue is that, let's just say, for instance, I am an angel investor, okay? And you're explaining that to me. I want to apply the tax financial incentives of one onto the other. Okay, why would I give you the money instead of going and finding a landscaping company and going and finding a solar company and then saying, okay, hey guys, let's do this partnership together and do the thing, right? In order for this to work, you're probably going to need to have some experience and knowledge of the industry that you're talking about. So then you kind of start to get into these other interesting questions. Is installing solar panels and trees what I want to do with my life? If it is, then maybe what you do is you go out and you get a job installing solar panels. You'll learn a little bit about the industry, and you'll be able to figure out what you need to do to make this thing with the tree happen. And then by that point, you're going to have business contacts. You're going to know people in the industry. You're going to know people that you can hire to do. You get what I mean? So that's your biggest barrier right now, is that you have no industry knowledge or experience. And you're talking about something that you can't just bootstrap yourself, right? Like if your business idea was, I think that there should be a YouTube channel of my wife playing Pokemon Go. Well, my wife doesn't need any experience doing a YouTube channel because it doesn't cost me anything to make a YouTube channel. So she can bootstrap it and she can learn as she goes. And that's the great way to do the business, right? But installing solar panels, it's a little bit more difficult to do that, right? No, but I'm welcome to making it a part of it. That sounds to me like something that during the time period that you start the business, that would be all you're doing. Oh, what's the guy's saying in interest rates channel here? I never read. Imagine how much ES will take off if the Fed actually does taper and then raise rates back to normal and banks finally taking risks again. Sadly, we are in an environment of only buying the most high quality liquid assets. Not to mention the initial sell-off that will trash a bunch of shorts and fuel the move higher. For some reason, people are conditioned to think rates up is bearish. Like what? I mean, there will be some initial volatility for traders, but rates up is a good thing. Well, okay, yes and no. Rates increasing will have a different impact on different stocks. In the long run, yeah, it's good, and the S&P 500 moves up. In the short term, though, there should be a lot of chaos because but it is true, when the Fed tapers and these rates go back up, the banks are going to be making a lot more money. And there could be a lot more upside in some of these bank stocks. Yes, sir. I mean, theoretically, we can just hire solar contractors and environmental designers in our businesses selling a package that hasn't really been tried. But what would prevent anybody else from doing that and doing it better then at that point, right? Like, one of the first things you got to think about is, like, if nobody else is doing it, why not? If it's really such a good idea. Am I really come across something that just nobody bothered to think about doing it? Or is there not really any synergy between the two? You know, like, I think that would be a big problem with that one. Is like, yes, you can get tax write-offs for doing solar, and you can get tax write-offs for doing green landscaping, whatever, but there is no benefit for doing them both together. I could hire one contractor to do this and one contractor to do this, and it would be the same thing, and you are not actually adding any value to it, right? I'm not convinced that if I was, let me put it this way. If, I would like to do something entrepreneurial, but my own financial goals and everything would be different, and so I would very much be looking to bootstrap something, right? But if I was willing to just do any entrepreneurial idea that I want, I'm not convinced that that's what would be the one that I would want to go for. Because I'm not convinced that the combination of the two, that you as a business actually provide enough value simply by combining the two together to be like disruptive to the market. Basically what you're just doing is you're just starting in two separate businesses that already have a lot of competition. And most people either want green stuff or they want solar, and they don't do them together, or there's no benefit for them to go to you to do them together. Unless there was like some sort of special innovation about the way that you put them together that not everybody could do. I was really hoping to see a story here on Zero Hedge that read, S&P 500 panics bids at the open, blah, 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 but it's not there. It's not there. Oh, another $1 billion was printed by Tether, huh? Man. And the yields, another thing that's kind of interesting is the way these yields are moving. It's like especially in the 2-year, didn't move very much. 10-year moved a decent amount, but still. You're getting more activity in the 30. Well, there's now no actual trades in the 30. I find it interesting that nobody is trading the 5 and the 30. Well, there might be some advantages for us there. I don't know. Well, what should we put in today's title? S&P gains 50 points? Gains 50 points to end week. I'm a little concerned about next week, man. I don't think they can hold these prices next week. I really don't. It's kind of funny, like watching this is actually kind of making me feel like really discouraged. I don't think that there's any reason to, like, if we're scalping, what's discouraging is that even though the S&P-500 is moving up, it's not very broad, and the stocks that I own haven't been participating in it. That's what's frustrating. That's why I'm feeling like this. But just watching it move that far and not have any reason to suspect that it's coming is kind of frustrating. Holding ESU contract till expiration. Well, I mean, it really looks like the options buyers won once again. Yeah. Someday it's going to stop working, and it's going to be insane. But that day is not today. And who knows when it's going to happen? What is the catalyst that would be necessary for that to happen? Actually, you know what's one of the frustrating things is that we were getting this sort of thing before COVID-19, right? And we're saying, okay, like there's some of this stuff, but like we know that these pullbacks come and that there's chaos around it, right? Because we had just experienced some of it, right? But just before COVID-19 was when the options thing like really started to become a thing. And COVID happened, and exactly the thing that I was warning about happened, where it was like the S&P 500 fell, and it fell way more than was justified. And it just kind of became this self-reinforcing thing, even to the point that when the Federal Reserve came in and started doing stuff, the market ignored it. At first, at least. But that was not enough for anybody to freak out or do anything about it. And so now we've just been through like a year and a half of this. But I really think, like, man, okay, so when do we get? Next week is Jackson Hole. Right, let me change my calendar here to only be the US dollar. Next week is the Jackson Hole Symposium, University of Michigan. Is it Michigan? Yeah, Michigan Consumer Sentiment, goods, trades, balance, personal spending, etc. Preliminary GDP next week as well, PMIs. Okay, so we got a decent amount of data coming out next week. And then after that, then we get the jobs. Like, that's what I'm concerned about is we get next week and the week after that, and then rates increase, and the concerns about weakened consumer sentiment and the rising interest rates and stagflation and everything else becomes enough that we have a really weak September and October, which seasonally speaking are more bearish. Labor Day holiday next weekend? Nah. When is Labor Day? Must be after that. Yep. The 6th. After that, and then it's Labor Day. So we get, so we'll get next week, and then, which is Jackson Hole, and then the week after that we'll get the jobs number, and then that will be particularly especially if that jobs number is good, that'll be particularly interesting, because then you've got the 3-day holiday after that. Okay, well, the market has become springtime for Hitler, says Rabobank. Oh man. FBI shoots down Dem conspiracy theory that January 6th Capitol riot was pre-planned. World collectively sighs. Yeah, oh my gosh. Well, just talking about the Tesla thing, I didn't read that part of the... Fed's Kaplan to speak at the top of the hour. I wonder if that's going to have an impact on all this. Look, the treasuries did float back up through that huge push down. Okay, well, so part of the thing here is that I have, my mind has been interest rates. I want to trade interest rates. I could be taking trades on the S&P-500. If I was taking trades on the S&P-500, I probably would have tried at least one and gotten lucky, but it wouldn't have necessarily been a great trade, because it would have been like a I'm bored trade. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's a weird analogy for them to be using, but wait, what? Kurt Schlichter says, my 8-year-old son said, male identifying parent, I am confident that Biden's leadership will inspire the Taliban to join us in fighting patriarchy and sharing Jen Miley's validation of the BIPOC trans experience. And if they don't, it's Trump's fault. I was literally shaking. What the? Oh, guys. I'm just stalling now because I'm trying to find something that will give me that high of taking a good trade. I didn't take a trade yesterday either. The day before that, I took a trade and I made money. Hey, on the micros. One trade in the first week, hey guys, I was profitable trading the interest rate treasury futures during the first week of them trading. I was profitable. I took one trade and I made $10 on it. See you guys Monday. Stay profitable, friends.